Rule number 6 from the book 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson says, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. So what does that mean? In essence, the idea is that you need to take responsibility over your own misfortunes and don't blame the world. Another way to look at it is to focus on mastering your own issues before involving yourself in the issues of the world. This leads me to the obvious story of the week. The delusion of the South African government thinking that you can rock up in Europe with an aircraft full of weapons and hardened security personnel to stop an ongoing war between two countries that don't give a continental stuff about your opinion. It was a lame attempt to save some sort of remaining dignity, and the ridiculous use of teenage social media signaling to the rest of the world that the South African government still has any pull and power to get things done. That ship has sailed. Instead, they came home with their tails between their legs on a fucked out old A340 in the livery of an airline that used to be famous. Another monumental cluster, courtesy of the ANC and funded by the South African taxpayer.
Well, that was very well said. I mean,
accurate.
Somewhat polite, but yeah, spot on. I mean, what was this bunch of numpties thinking? Let's take a company jet for a spin to Europe. We'll load it with people and some weapons, and we'll just cruise through first world territories, and we're going to go out there to go and sort the politics out between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
come on. You can't even fucking fix your own country's electrical crisis with a host of other problems. Now you're going to go there to try and...
Yeah, well, I think that's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
You know...
What are you doing?
If everything else was in order and, you know, your country was running tip-top, by all means, you know, jump on a company jet and go and try sort out some other issues. But the reality is...
What a facade.
I mean, it's such a facade. And was that like a... is that a bit delusional? To me, it was a bit delusional. And that's a wonderful book, that Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And a lot of the things are, you know, they have a lot of meaning to your own life. You know, you can look at things like that. But when something like that that's so obvious happens, that particular rule number 6, really sort of stood out for me there. But yeah, a good article to read there on was that Daily Maverick article that came out, and I think if you don't know what we're talking about, go check that one out. Sort of, it really is just. I don't know. I don't understand it sometimes.
I think it had most of us in the aviation world back home just stuck.
What the?
You know, at a complete loss for words. I mean, like, what do you say? What do you do?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, obviously aircraft was stuck in Poland. They couldn't go. They weren't allowed to continue to Kiev and then to St. Petersburg. I don't know how many days they were stuck there. 26 hours later, they got off the plane and basically they were allowed to disembark, go to a hotel without their luggage.
Speaking of luggage, there were some pictures doing the rounds on social media where they'd obviously inspected some of the luggage that had come off the airplane, and there was a picture with 2 big, like Samsonite size cases filled with US dinero, like petty cash.
Huh? Yeah, well, I don't know. That doesn't work. Yeah, but that's just landing fees, bro. But look, I don't know. The whole thing, look, take everything else aside. I don't know enough about flights like that, these missions that go and happen. Who knows what they carry on board? That doesn't matter. The point is it our business to be sorting stuff like that out? And I'm not so sure. I don't think the country, the respect.
No, we're a long way away from
is not there.
Having any sort of credibility to go and try and poke the nose in other people's business. Like you said, sort your own affairs out first, get your own house in order, and crack on from there. But
yeah. So that's all I've got to say about it. I don't, it just annoys me. But anyway, we carry on. We actually just spoke about it now, you and I, the whole SAA connection. I said to you, but SAA actually probably had very little to do with it, But the reality is it's still SAA livery, and it doesn't do them any favors, at the end of the day. Then there were reports about not getting the right clearances across certain countries, and then you start to wonder, but hang on, who's in charge of this
well, exactly. Thing? I mean, they can't not take any accountability for this. I mean, at the end of the day, if you own and operate the airplane, you must be aware of where your airplane's going, what is required to get it there, what's going to be on board. I mean, you must know that. So you can't tell me for 1 second.
Correct documentation and things like that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially, I mean, the crew, all that, they're responsible for that. No getting around it. So, no, I think they are just as equally responsible to blame. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. So I think, had I say on that whole thing, that I wrote that thing the other day because I was like, how do you chat about this as a subject without it, coming across that we're just on the attack? But the reality is, you almost like, I think Duncan actually posted something like an apology to the Polish people or something. And that's actually how I felt. It was a bit embarrassing, to see something like that anyway.
Yeah.
That's where I am. It's the big air show this week in Paris.
Yeah. So apology from my side. I think I cocked up last week where I said that the air show was 2 weeks ago.
Well, you also mentioned, no one listens to the Bryan Air podcast for the most accurate news.
Yeah, my dates are about as accurate as financial advice that we offer. But so it's actually on at the moment.
Yeah, it's on at the moment, and a few things happening there. There was a big first day there, so Indigo stole the show there. And with a notable deal for 500 Airbus A320neos, was marking the busiest day for order commitments in over a decade. Apart from Indigo's significant purchase, Saudi carrier Finalises expanded its fleet with an additional 30 A320s. Air Mauritius secured a deal for 3 A350-900s. Overall, Airbus dominated the show with a total of 533 out of 543 orders, all of which are firm commitments. So
it's good for Airbus.
Good for Airbus. Yeah,
I mean
that order of 500 320neos. We almost joked about it when Bryan Air came up with that big order a couple of months ago or a month ago. But now they're just happening all the time, and it's remarkable. 500 aircraft. Think about the amount of crew and personnel required to go and unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so really good news.
Serious digits behind all of that.
Qantas finalized an agreement for 9 A220s. Aussie flag carrier finalized an order for 9 220-300s, bringing their total backlog to 29 of this aircraft type. The airline expects first delivery of these single-aisle jets by 2023, and all 29 A220s will be delivered by the end of 2027. I read there as well, Airbus looking at making the 220 a bit bigger.
Is that so?
Yeah, so there's a possibility there. Interesting, the A220 aircraft exclusively powered by Pratt & Whitney PW 1500G engines that we reported on.
Is that a wise move?
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up.
I mean, there's been a lot of issues surrounding those engines. I wonder.
I suppose they've got the assurity from Pratt & Whitney.
Yeah,
and
one would hope.
Maybe things are sorted by that stage. Who knows? As Al said, this isn't new technology. It's technology that's been around for a while. Just this particular engine, they're having issues with.
Yeah.
China Airlines firms orders for 8 Boeing 787-9s following its earlier announcement about exercising options for these wide bodies. Order comes in addition to the carrier's first order of 16 of the same type, which was announced last year. The latest order, China Airlines will be introducing a total of 24 of these fuel-efficient 787s in the coming years, supporting the airline's sustainability goals. Yeah. So that's happening there. The other big news from the show, Comac, your favorite aircraft, has dropped Russia out the equation. You see that?
Yeah.
So Comac, China's commercial aircraft manufacturer, has appeared to remove Russia from the branding of its long-range wide-body aircraft project. And so they've gone and replaced it with something else on the tail there. But the Russia connection from the Comac is no longer.
Oh, I think they obviously realized that it wouldn't really be able to fly outside the borders of China if that was the case. So it would render it a bit useless.
Yeah. So they just laughed it off.
Yeah. But does that mean that the Russian connection is completely abandoned, or is it just...
I don't know. I think it's too early to tell.
Tape?
No, I don't know.
But anyway, far be it from us too.
I think it might be a bit more than that if you read a bit further into it, but we'll see.
Listen, I got a fright when I checked this next story that you listed here. SkyWest's $70,000 international training bond.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bit of a thought mode when we...
Yeah.
You do the sums on that for a new hire.
Yeah.
To commit to employment at SkyWest Airlines until they've completed 2,000 pilot and command hours at the carrier, or approximately 3 to 6 years.
I don't understand this. So
they want you to sign a training bond if you're an expat.
All right.
The value of $70,000. Look, it includes a type rating. So it's their way of like bonding you to the hilt, but $70,000.
All right, I'm going to try to bring up something else here for you. Right. So have a look at this next one. This is the Rishworth site. And so let's go see what they say. Are you a foreign captain looking for an exciting opportunity to fly in the United States? Look no further than Rishworth's aviation partnership with SkyWest Airlines and SkyWest Charter. Under the SkyWest Charter Part 135 program, foreign captains can accumulate the 1,000 hours required for Part 121 operations while flying as a captain on the CRJ 200 aircraft. And with Rishworth's aviation support throughout your recruitment and onboarding journey, including a relocation specialist and ongoing direct contact with our recruitment team, you'll have everything you need to take advantage of this opportunity. Successful captains will sign a minimum 2-year contract with SkyWest Charter, the largest regional airline in the United States, with 19 different bases. And carries on and on and on. Type rating on the CRJ 200 and FAA license conversion will be provided. And further type ratings on the 700 and 900 or ERJ 175 may also be provided based on the airline's operational requirements. Then, if you read a bit closer, so $70,100 training bond. Okay, this is now going away from that, so I'll stop sharing that. $70,100 training bond.
For foreign pilots.
For foreign pilots only.
Yeah.
And this was done, actually, a similar contract implemented last month by Republic Airways. Republic is reportedly able to fill new higher classes despite the bond. All right. So
it's 1.4 million.
1.4 million.
South African rondellas.
It's a significant, they're getting hurtful of just losing their pilots, obviously. Yeah. So they've come up with this idea. And I suppose it's the jobs that the Americans don't want. So
it's a lot of money. Jeez.
Yeah. 3 to 6 years. I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it the worst thing in the world? I don't know. Airbus experiments with more control for the autopilot.
Yeah, here it comes.
Continued story.
I know Duncan put out an article on Fly Africa about it as I started reading it. I mean, it's just becoming more and more evident that the move to automate aircraft is
happening more and more.
Yeah.
So this is all part of this Project Dragonfly conducted on the A350-1000, focused on extending the plane's autonomy in 3 areas: automatic landing, taxi assistance, and automated emergency diversion. The project successfully tested an automatic emergency descent system, which would take over in the crisis scenarios. The plane under its own control can descend and land safely while recognizing other aircraft, weather, and terrain. Uses AI to communicate with air traffic control.
So a lot of that's not completely new to the Airbus,
No.
as far as I know, because if I'm not mistaken, the A350's already got some of that technology. Can auto descent in a case of an emergency.
Yeah.
Can even avoid TCAS.
Yeah.
RAs on the way down, that sort of thing. So it's not completely new, but obviously the technology is getting better, so much so that it can actually completely navigate itself to a safe landing spot and land in the event of an emergency or pilot in cap.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the article here. Yeah, Ryan, I don't know. I don't really like it. It seems like it's maybe one step too far. And when you talk to Airbus pilots or pilots that are flying these things at the moment, 350s flying these aircraft at the moment, one of the guys in particular said to me that it's still way off.
Yeah, we're not
being
quite,
we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, one wonders how far away it is and how much of an impact that'll have on pilots and crewing aircraft going forward.
Yeah.
It just seems that there are these continuation stories of, we do require crew, and at what point are the manufacturers going to pop up and say, we have a solution? And that solution is that you don't need anyone to fly these aircraft.
Yeah. Look, such a broad topic that, because I still don't see general public being all that confident climbing into an airplane that's completely pilotless.
No, I don't as well.
Yeah.
All right. Next story. Scoot 787 lands in Taipei with a missing nose wheel. So just to explain to people there, was big in the news. 2 nose wheels on the front of an aircraft. One of them fell off, landed, no issue.
Yeah.
Happy. Huh?
Don't have to explain anymore.
No big deal.
But why does a tire fall off? I mean,
yeah, I suppose, I don't know. I'm no engineer, but maybe the bearing seized or something, heated up, maybe just burnt itself off.
Yeah.
I wonder where it is.
But I mean, that's like, why did it even make news?
Yeah, but it was like a sensationalized story.
I guess we get in Taipei, they don't have a government that does stupid things like steal a company jet and fly over to other countries to go and sort out problems. So they've got to go and dig for news.
True story.
I suppose.
Can we go a bit closer to home? Solenta, good news about them. They will be flying 3 more ATR 72-500 freighters with large cargo doors as part of an ACMI agreement with DHL. 2 of the 72-500s will enter service later in June. Good news.
Good news for Solenta.
Good news for Solenta. Even closer to home, Qantas are here. Qantas Link are visiting us here this week.
Yeah.
It's been good to see Barry again, and nice to see that there's a lot of interest in it. I think the interest is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you want to know a bit more, Jen, about it, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Ryan. We can fill you in. And we hope in the coming month, or maybe, we're trying to get Barry on the show to explain the whole procedure involved. So right from the beginning, what you can expect and what it's all about. It's got to get permission first. I didn't actually want to ask Barry because it puts him in like a bit of a position, but he's got to get permission first, and then we'll have Barry on. He can explain the entire process.
Yeah.
What I will tell you, we have been chatting quite a bit this week, and the position itself, the whole move and everything, it has its difficulties, as you'd expect, but the opportunity is pretty clear to see. It's in plain sight. And I think it's going to get more and more popular. And they're not just here today and won't be coming back for a few years. This looks like this will be an ongoing thing for a period of time.
Yeah.
So if you are interested, look at that application and consider it. I said to you yesterday, if I was flying for an airline at the moment in South Africa, and I was, bombing around here locally. For me personally, I'd be going. I'd be handing in my forms there and taking that leap. Because, Ryan, there are no career airlines here.
No.
There aren't. And I don't mean that to be derogatory or having a go at the local airlines at all. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to fly, if your goal as an airline pilot is to fly a wide body to overseas, flagship destinations and, be a long haul skipper, which is pretty much the pinnacle of, what you can be as an airline pilot. You don't have that opportunity here. The chances are guys like you and me will never have that opportunity here. And then what are you going to do? Stay here and just say, well, those are the cards that I was dealt. You can do that if the reason that you are here is for the lifestyle, your family, all the rest. Then it's a different story. But if you're career driven and you're looking at actually, expanding out a bit, Oz is one of those options. It's certainly not the only option. There are plenty others. But, chatting to Barry this week and having a look and chatting to people looking at making that move, it does make a lot of sense on a lot of levels. It won't make sense for everyone. But there's a very niche guy or girl with their families that can make that move and probably be very successful in that little transition across to Oz. I don't know what you think about it.
No, I totally agree. Again, it boils down to what you as an individual are looking for out of this career. I mean, if you are looking to make big bucks really fast, then it's probably not the type of move you want to make.
That's not why you're going.
Not why you're going. No, then you want to probably consider something else in the Middle East or whatever the case may be. But if you are in search of a better lifestyle with security for your family and better future prospects, not only for you but your family especially, then it's undoubtedly the best move you can possibly make right now, considering the opportunities that are available. Like you said, in South Africa, we're not spoiled with opportunity. And if you look at what's happening in aviation in Australia as well, they are buying fleets of new A220s. They are investing in newer age, modern aircraft. You don't see a lot of that happening here in South Africa. We can't afford to. So for a long time in South Africa still, you're going to be stuck flying older
gen aircraft.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. It's a hard truth. And I think for those pilots that are out there that really do care about what they fly, that's going to become a thing. But yeah, I can't agree more. Obviously, the more mates we have moving over to Australia now, the more opportunity you have to find out what it's really like over there for SAFers and expats. And again, said it before a lot in recent weeks, the guys seem to be very, very happy. And they, I think for the most part, do miss South Africa. You wouldn't, who wouldn't? But I get the sense that they all feel that they've made the right choice.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Doesn't come without sacrifices.
No, nothing does.
But yeah,
but it certainly is a viable choice. And in the past, I mean, Qantas Link been coming here for quite a while to do these interviews, and some of our colleagues went across. Sure, I can't even remember the year they went across, but those guys are now sitting on the wide body fleet there at Qantas. They've made the jump already to mainline Qantas. And you think about it at the time, you think, oh, geez, they're making this move and, they have to, go so many steps backwards. But the reality is those guys are sitting on a wide body fleet for a mainline carrier flying around the world because they made that move.
Yeah, in hindsight, back then, they made the best possible decision.
Yeah.
Considering everything that's happened.
Yeah, you could have gone back then, and those guys could have been A340 first officers for SAA, and had they made that move, you'd think, oh, these guys are crazy. They're going to go fly Dash 8. But a few years later, they're sitting there on mainline Qantas doing really well and having made a success about it career-wise, but also from a lifestyle point of view. The guys have really gotten into it. The one thing that Barry, those of you that don't know him, he's an absolute straight shooter. He'll tell you exactly how it is, which is why he's the perfect guy to ask this question.
Yeah.
But the other thing that he said was, you've got to go and get yourself into the the Aussie way of doing things, you know, join a club, do something, get to know new people. And that's what I like the idea of. If you compare it to, say, making the move to the UAE and staying in, one of the compounds with a whole lot of other Saffers, you sort of home away from home, but you're not really investing in that new sort of country and culture because you're going to have to leave there when you finish working anyway. So I wonder if it's a bit of a mindset thing. When you go to Oz, guys, this is a move. We're moving as a family, and this is why we're going across, and this is it. Whereas when you go to the UAE, it's like, I'm going to give this a go for 3 or 4 years. It's a slightly different mindset.
Yeah, you absolutely can't go across, and half-ass it. You got to go and immerse yourself in and just do it properly.
Yeah.
As you should be doing anything in life anyway. But I mean, 100%. What I found fascinating in conversation as well was, there are guys that are applying for these positions that are high-time, highly experienced pilots flying new, modern lacquer Aries right now that are going for those positions.
At very good other airlines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we spoke about it where it was like, it's quite fascinating how, isn't it weird right now that guys don't really seem to care what they fly anymore?
Yeah.
As long as they're flying, I suppose, and have a comfortable position. But it's the peripherals around the job that are more important now than what you are actually flying.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that a couple of years ago. It was always
I'll fly this. And,
dick swinging contest as to who was on the better equipment.
I don't know what the change is with that. I don't know where that change came about, but it's very much evident that if you're flying a 1900, and I think a lot of it's got to do with the whole pay situation.
Of course.
We got mates flying 1900s in Africa. They simply can't afford to come back and fly for a Saffair or an Airlink at the moment. They simply won't earn enough money. So they'd rather fly the 1900 on contract. And maybe that's where the shift is coming. It's like, nah, we're not going to make that move. And the same goes with, these guys living elsewhere in the world, flying very, very nice machines, but in very, very expensive places.
Yeah.
To live, and maybe it's now, hey, we'll take 2 steps back to move forward at some point.
Exactly.
Just a couple of things so some people don't sort of waste their time with it. And obviously, I'm not 100% au fait with what they're looking for, but I got a bit of an idea. So age is a bit of a factor. If you're over 50, sort of not going to happen. All right, but I'll let Barry sort of comment on that a bit further. That's obviously not a Qantas link restriction. That's a getting into Australia restriction. So, early 40, mid 40s is the sort of cutoff there before they would look at you there. And obviously you need an ATP. You need a South African ATP. So if you are at flight school, because what I would say, I have had quite a few emails and messages come through with people at flight schools that are doing their comms, and they're asking, hey, is it too much of a jump for me to come to the Qantas link interview type thing? You're not going to get in. So they're looking for guys that can take up the airline, these airline roles.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, you won't make the cut now, but those of you that are close to it and looking for a few more hours and maybe getting your ATP in a few years' time, and I still think this is going to go on for a while, that opportunity should still be there if you want to go to Oz.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. So hopefully we'll get Barry and he can answer those questions for us.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be awesome to have a convo with Barry on the show anyway.
Barry, my old man employed Barry, geez, I don't know when that was, late 80s. And
then Barry employed you.
And then Barry employed me and you. And then Barry was at Samero, and then Barry got my old man to Samero, and then myself there later on. So there's a bit of a connection there. But we'll report on that a bit more. But anyway, exciting to see. It's nice to see pilots that are, here looking for those opportunities around the world. And I see this carrying on for a few years to come.
It's nice to see the guys rocking up. And I must compliment a lot of the South African guys that are rocking up here. Obviously, all South Africans, but the guys are rocking up neatly dressed, well represented.
Yeah, they look the part.
They look the part. So it's kind of cool. It's like awesome. Go out there and represent the SAFA pilot community properly.
Yeah.
And I'm wishing all the candidates that are applying for this all the best. I hope everyone gets it.
Well, Barry, there was actually, this goes back a few years, but there's one real knob of a South African pilot that actually almost stuffed it up for everyone a few years ago.
Yeah.
Absolute wanker that had to actually, a whole long story, not going to mention his name, but he's a wanker. And he almost stuffed it up for everyone. But fortunately, the Oaks have done so well that
the majority of the
guys are like, cool, no, we want South Africans. Yeah, so if you do go across, don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't be a knob, please.
Don't be a knob. We'll mention his name next week.
Put it in the show notes.
Yeah, time for an advisory.
Absolutely.
Okay, so these are 2 podcasts, and they are 2 very, very important podcasts. I don't know if you've listened to them yet.
I've listened to the one, not the second one yet, because you did mention to me. You said to me, "Kaz, have you listened to this one?"
Be ready for it.
You said you did mention it was going to push my blood pressure up a bit. So
yeah, so this is not to. You might not be fans of these 2 people, but I think they're important to listen to. The first one is the Patrick Bet David, the PBD podcast with Andrew Tate. So if you don't know, Andrew Tate has been on the news a lot lately. Actually, I think they put out the arrest from the other day, child trafficking, all the rest. It's, endless story. Anyway, not going to get into that, but you can listen to this podcast, and he does mention in there that they're going to come after him for these things, and it might just reset the way you look at the world. It's actually pretty scary. And I think it's very beneficial for people to actually listen to it, open your mind, and start making your mind up as to what you actually think is going on. It's about a 5.5-hour conversation split into 5 podcasts. So I've put the link there for the first podcast. You can listen to the first one, they're an hour each. Listen to the first, go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. The reality is what Andrew Tate has been saying from the start is to be a good man, work hard, stay healthy, look after your family, don't drink too much, don't take drugs, don't cheat, and somehow the powers that be don't like that message. That message does not fall in line with the narrative that has been going on for the last, particularly since the whole pandemic started.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about there. It's a little bit political for an advisory type thing, but a very, very good podcast to listen to. The second one is an eye-opener of note. Now, on the Joe Rogan podcast, came out last week, podcast with Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm not even going to mention all the things that's on there because this podcast will get pulled. There's no question they'll take our show off YouTube straight away. So they might even for mentioning his name on there.
Really?
Yeah. So if this podcast makes it on, it'd be a miracle. But Robert Kennedy Jr. podcast, listen to that podcast. It's going to make you angry. You're not going to enjoy it, but it's going to give you a better worldview understanding of everything that is going on now, that has gone on in the past. And again, it's not to say that this guy is the be all and end all and he is the authority. He has a story. He speaks very well, and he has seems to have a lot of knowledge of those particular subjects. You'll know right from the start what line it's going down, but those 2 podcasts kind of linked as to what is actually going on in the world at the moment and why everything seems to be a little bit crazy, a little bit upside down, and maybe a lot of people still trying to make sense or understand why things are the way they are, why we have to bend the knee to so much nonsense, why you're not allowed to say certain things, why if you do say certain things, they will just cancel you, and what does being canceled mean to your from your personal side? What does it mean from your professional side?
Yeah.
And one of the things that came out, and I thought about it quite hard, is basically we all cancelled already. All of us are cancelled already. It's just that the voices aren't loud enough yet to take you away fully. And unless we start sort of listening to these people and start to question things a little bit more, it's only a matter of time before your voice might not be heard. And hopefully, the more people that start to investigate these things, start to put a bit more pressure on the narrative and the basically what's going on, that never happens. But believe you me, Ryan, it's a lot closer than you think.
Yeah, I'm sure. I get what you're going, or what you're saying with this. And I mean, indirectly / directly, we have spoken about this many times on the podcast, where I think we display our irritation with certain woke mentalities and
agendas,
events and agendas that are being pushed. We don't necessarily stand for that. And I'll be very keen to listen to that second one. I know the first one I listened to certainly opened up my mind and pissed me off a lot as well, because I don't like the idea that there's this force behind or an invisible force, trying to muzzle those of us that are trying to stand for more stoic, what's the word for it?
Traditions or ways of living.
Exactly. Yeah. Those of us who grew up with the right morals and principles and scruples, should I say. So,
and basically your choice to behave how you want to behave, and certainly not behave in a bad way. In fact, this is saying behave in a better way, behave in a stronger way, behave in a more, better equipped, have the knowledge, before you speak, think about something. And I can't see how those things are bad. I mean, those things are surely good, but the whole sort of narrative is totally different to that. So those are two very important podcasts that I hope people do go and listen to. Obviously, the Joe Rogan one you can only listen to on Spotify.
Yeah.
Everything else that Robert Kennedy has put out has, of course, been taken off. If he puts something on the tube, it's off. Anywhere, it's taken off.
Such bullshit.
So you're going to have to listen to that one on Spotify. Anyway, very, very interesting. And again, Ryan, I almost feel like I think you kind of always you're going to lose listeners because you're going down this path a bit and you sort of recommending something. It's not like a fun tech thing or whatever. But I think this is a very important one. And I think a lot of us are in this sort of environment at the moment where, particularly like in a corporate where you're so scared. I don't want to say this. I don't want to say that because, it actually threatens you professionally. Someone can come after you and it might not even be true. And we are not far away from, AI voice is coming out. We showed it on the show a while back, but it's way better than that now. And unless people actually wake up, there's hundreds of hours of you speaking on this podcast. Yeah. Someone could take that audio, turn it into something else, use an AI version of yourself, of you saying something, which is not what you said. And if people aren't awake to this whole thing, we're going to go down a very, very dangerous path because
very, very true.
And that's why it's so dangerous. If people don't figure it out now, you're going to have Joe Rogan standing up and saying something totally different to what he actually stands for, because it's not Joe Rogan. Yeah. But unless people actually wake up to this stuff, understand what's coming and why they might use this as an attack vector, then it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
So, one of the things has always been on the show is if you've got a platform like we do, is to use it for something that is good and that we believe in. And I really believe in this in a very small way compared to what other people have been affected by the whole woke nonsense bullshit. We have as well. There was something that came out on the TV a few months ago that had that sort of element involved, and going to go down there, but that type of thing is so dangerous because, on what basis, on what, what do you, so please go listen to those. You yourself, Ryan, on the way home today, Robert Kennedy Jr. JRE Experience.
Yeah.
That's an important show.
I definitely will. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the advisory and the message behind it. I mean, it does back up what we stand for and believe in.
Yeah.
And, that's who we are.
No Formula One this weekend, but next weekend, and then some good UFC coming in 2 weeks' time.
Looking forward to that.
Still knocks Duplessis fighting Robert Whittaker. It's going to be a good fight. Anyway, Paul, have a good weekend.
You two guys, take it easy. All the best, and catch you next week.
Yep.
Ciao.
Goodbye for now.